Jai Hind student, actually today we will be starting with the concepts of software engineering. The code for the subject is KCS 601. We are going to start with unit 2, which basically deals with software requirement specification, that is SRS. So, before understanding what is SRS, let's understand what is requirement engineering. So, what actually requirement describes? It is something which describes what and not how of the system, right? So, that means it is going to produce one large document which is written in the natural language, fine, which contains the description of what the system will do without describing that how it will do it. That means it basically deals with the what part and not the how part of the system, right? Requirements again plays a very important role, and until and unless we are going to fetch the requirements in the proper way, the software that we are going to develop will not, is going to meet the requirements of your end user or your customers. Now, what are the different crucial process steps when we are dealing with your requirement engineering? Initial is the quality of the product, which will lead to the process that creates it, right? That means the quality of the product actually depends on the type of process, the process or the methodologies or the way that we are actually using, based on which we are going to develop a particular type of software. Now, if we don't have any well written documents, if we don't have any proper written documents available with us, that means developers actually do not know what to build. This is again very important point, right? So that means it is quite again very important for the developers, for the customers to understand what the requirements are, right? So the customer will not know what they are supposed to build. Again, the customer will also not know that what they are expecting out of the system, what the system will generate, for what they are looking, what is actually their problem. So until and unless we have the proper requirements, it is quite difficult for the developers also, for your customer also, that what they are supposed to build and what they are supposed to expect. Again, what to validate? That means understanding the requirement is the very first important task that need to be catered in the proper way. Now, as you can see, these are the crucial process steps of requirement engineering. What is this? Initially, we'll be having the problem statement, okay? Then we are going to apply this process of requirement engineering, and we'll be getting the document which we generally call as software requirement specification. In this, we are having different type of process. First is the requirement elicitation, then comes the requirement analysis, requirement documentation, and lastly the review part, right? So we are going to deal each and every part in detail. Elicitation of requirement, analysis of requirement, the documentation part of the requirement, and lastly the review of the requirements. And after these activities, this problem statement, when we are going to apply this requirement engineering, the document that we are getting is what is called as the SRS. Now, as far as this definition is concerned, what actually do we understand by requirement engineering? Requirement engineering is the disciplined application of proven principles, some methods, some tools and notations which is used to describe the proposed system. That means what we are actually looking out of the system, which intends behavior and its associated constraints. Again, SRS may act as the contract. Okay, SRS is a document which actually works, or which actually acts as a contract between the developer and between the customer. Now, state of practice, requirements again are difficult to uncover. And as I told you that until and unless we are able to understand the requirements in the proper way, we cannot make the software up to mark, right? So, though it is the very first step, but until and unless we are going to fetch it in the proper way, in the complete form, we cannot expect that the product that we are going to deliver at the end is going to meet the requirements of your end user. Second come is that requirement often changes, right? It is quite difficult that we can, understand all the requirements at the very initial level. They frequently change due to any or the other reasons, right? The customer may be having some sort of issue, so he want to change some or the other requirements. So there can be number of reasons due to which they frequently change. Next is tight project schedule. We have the tight project schedule, and within that schedule, we are supposed to deliver the products to our end user. So that is again very important, that need to be taken care of. Again, there is communication barriers, market of driven software development, and the lack of resources. right? So these are different state of practice. Now, as far as the requirements are concerned, we are having different type of requirements. First is the known requirements, unknown requirements, and the undreamed type of requirements. The requirements which are known, the requirements which are not known, that means unknown requirements, and the requirements which are undreamed. Again, if you are talking in terms of requirement, we should be very much clear of this very term, which is stakeholder, right? So who is stakeholder? Anyone who should have some direct or some indirect type of influence on the system requirements, right? Any person who is having either some direct impact on some indirect impact on the system requirements is basically the stakeholder. Now, further they can be classified as functional as well as non-functional type of requirements, which basically describes the functionality of the system as well as the qualitative point of view of the system. Now, functional requirement describes what the system has to do, right? For what we are making the system, what we are expecting out of the system, that all deals or that basically falls under the category of functional requirements. They are often called as product features. So that means they are going to describe the features of the system. Then again, non-functional requirements are mostly quality requirements. As I told you, they stipulate how well the software does and what it is supposed to do. How well the software is doing. For what we are making the software. Is it fulfilling all our requirements and all? And from the user's point of view, we basically deals with the availability. These again are the different qualitative, requirements, which basically falls under the category of non-functional requirements. Is the system available to us? Is the system that we are dealing with, is it reliable? Is it properly usable? Is it flexible? That means if we want to incorporate any type of changes, is it possible? Then again, from developer's point of view, we can talk about maintainability. Is the system maintainable? If you want to incorporate any type of changes in the system, is it maintainable? Is it portable in any other platform if you want to work with? Is it properly testable? So that means based on the users and again based on the developers, they are basically categorized. Types of requirements, user and system requirements. User requirements are written for the users and includes functional and non-functional requirements. So they are the requirements which are basically written for the users. System requirements, they are derived from the user requirements. That means what the user is expecting, based on that, what is the requirement of the system. The user and system requirements are the part of software requirement and again a specification document, which we generally called as SRS document. Now, interface specifications. What is the importance for interface specifications for the customer? What is actually the medium through which we will be able to communicate with the system, right? So again, there are types of interfaces. The procedural interface, which we generally called as API, application programming interface, the data structures that we are actually using and how we are going to represent that particular data. Now, next comes is the feasibility study. This is again a very, very important concept. Whatever software we are going to develop, is it feasible, right? So, to understand that, we should be very much clear or we should be very much aware of this particular term, what feasibility study is. This is basically the study which is made before committing to a particular project. It leads to a particular decision. That means if a project or the software that we are going to deal with, is it feasible? Then we can go ahead. If it is not feasible, you do not go ahead or even think over again. So that means it is quite an important, a scenario that need to be catered before the starting feasibility study. Again, the main purpose of this feasibility is to answer one of the main questions. Should we proceed with the project idea or not? Right? Whatever project idea or whatever methodologies, techniques that we are using for the development of the system or the software that we are actually going to develop, is it feasible? Is it worthy? Right? So, if we have the answer of those all questions, accordingly we need to proceed. Now, the purpose is not to solve the problem, but to determine whether the problem is worth solving. That means with the help of this fuzzy feasibility study, we cannot say that we are actually solving the problem, but the problem that we are solving, is it worth solving? Is it not the wastage of time, money and resources that need to be incorporated when we are going to, develop a particular type of software? It again concentrates on the following area. There are different types of feasibility actually. Operational feasibility, which deals with the operational type of thing. The technical feasibility, economic feasibility, social. There are many types of feasibility study and they need to be properly taken care of. Now, these are the different elements of the good feasibility study. There are actually total 6 in parts. What is the scope of the project? if you are able to understand what is feasibility study, for what we are expecting out of the system, what is the scope of the project, what is the current analysis, right? The requirements that we are dealing with, which I told you is very, very important part, because until and unless we are able to fetch this requirement, it's quite difficult, or not only difficult, it's quite impossible to develop the qualitative product at the end. The approach that we are using, the evaluation criteria we are using, and lastly is the review part. Now, first is the requirement elicitation, right? So basically gathering of requirements is what is called as the requirement elicitation process. Perhaps it is quite difficult to gather the requirements. Again, it is most critical. It's not as easy as it seems to be. Error prone when we are dealing with the terms of, fetching the requirements, and most communicational intensive. It will only succeed if effective customer partnership is there. So that is quite mandatory. That means the development team or the software developer and the customer should have the proper type of partnership, should have the common way of understanding what the customer is expecting and what the user is going to deliver, right? So based on that, we are going to fetch the requirements and then proceed accordingly. Now, selection of any method, it is the only method that we know. Okay, we basically select any or the other method based on these very type of criteria, because it is the only method that we know. That is why we are selecting it. Or it is our favorite method for all situations, because for each and every situations we are using it. That is why we are using this particular method. We understand intuitively that the methods is effective in present circumstances. So normally we rely on these methods. Now, there are number of requirements elicitation techniques. These are different techniques of elicitation, or simply we can say the gathering of requirements. First is the interview, then comes is the brainstorming, FAST, QFD and use case approach. We'll be dealing one by one. Now, first is the interview. Both parties have the common goal. When we are talking about the interview, your developer as well, the customer for whom you are developing the software, will be having a proper type of interview. So, what is actually the aim behind it is simply the success of the project. The better way we are going to understand the requirement, the better way we are going to deliver a product which is a qualitative type of product. So, success of the project depends on the interview that we are going to conduct. Again, selection of stakeholders. Groups to be considered for interview. First is at the entry level, the personnel, then again the middle level stakeholders, the managers and the users of the software, which is again the most important, because they are actually the person who are going to use the software in the real scenario. Now, again, when we are conducting a type of interview, number of questions need to be asked, right? So, what are the different type of questions? Any problem with existing system? Okay, that means the problem, is there any sort of problem in the system which is actually the existing type of system? Any calculation errors? Are there any sort of calculation errors which are actually coming? These all questions need to be answered when we are dealing in terms of the interview. Again, possible reasons for malfunctioning, number of students enrolled. Say, for example, we are dealing in terms of the, you can say, like the university portal, if we are having that, how many number of students have totally enrolled for this particular course? Then again, what are the possible benefits? Is it satisfied with the current policies? How are you maintaining? So, these are a general type of questions and they need to be properly answered to actually move ahead, right? So, we'll be having a proper type of idea that what actually we want, what the customer wants, what the end user wants, and based on their requirements, the things need to proceed accordingly. We can add even more type of functionality. Is there any specific type of problems that need to be discussed? Second comes is the brainstorming session. It is a group of technique. In this, basically a group discussion type of thing generally takes place. And when we are talking about the type of group discussions, generally new ideas comes into the mind, right? So that means there is a possibility of creative thinking, okay? Because so many number of people are sitting together, a type of group discussion is basically going on. So there is a possibility of creative thinking, or that means we can have a type of quick, a very good type of idea, which can definitely lead to some, a good type of product. If you are talking about groups, what is group? Users can form the group, then again middle level managers are there, and again the total stakeholders. So, a facilitator may handle group biases. Again, see, when we are having different type of, benefits of a particular technique, there are some type of, cons also associated with it. right? So that means when number of people are actually involved, there may be a possibility of a type of biasing, a type of conflict that again need to be handled by the facilitator. So that means the facilitator should be quite good in handling these type of scenarios, because lots many people are sitting together, they'll be having different ideas, different opinions, so they can have a type of conflict. So they need to be properly maintained. Then facilitator may follow a published agenda. Every idea will be documented in the way that everyone can see it. That means there is no scope of partiality and all. So every document need to be properly published. Then again, a detailed report need to be properly presented. Next comes the FAST technique. The full form of FAST is Facilitated Application Specification Technique. So what is actually the objective of this technique is, the objective is to bridge the expectation gap. What the user is expecting and how we'll be able to, move at the end, how we'll be able to deliver what the user is actually expecting us. So this is something which is going to bridge the expectation gap. It is quite similar to your brainstorming session only. It is again a team-oriented approach, and creation of joint team of customers and developers are there in this FAST technique. So there are again different type of guidelines for this FAST scenario. So what are the different guidelines that need to be properly adhered when we are talking about this FAST technique? First is the arrange a meeting at a neutral site. At neutral site, a proper type of meeting need to be arranged. Then again, establish the rules for the participation. That means the persons who are involved in the participation, proper rule need to be established. Then again, informal agenda to encourage free flow of ideas. Again, appoint a proper type of facilitator who is quite good in handling a scenario in which, a type of biasing or a type of conflict generally used to come. So that means the person should be quite an expert person. Then again, prepare definition mechanism board, worksheets and wall stickers. Participation should not criticize or debate. So there is no scope of any type of criticism or debate, between one another. So that should not be there. Then again, for the session preparation, each attendee is asked to make a list of objects that are part of environment which surrounds the system, produced by the system and which is used by the system. For that, we'll be having some list of constraints, some functions and again the performance criteria, which deals with the speed of the system, the reliability of the system, the memory usage of the system and how fast the system is actually responding. So based on that, we can find out the performance of the system. Now, these are the different type of activities of this FAST session. What are they? First is every participant presents his or her list. As there are number of people, so they'll be having the proper way with the help of which they can participate their particular list. Then again, combine the list for each particular topic. For each particular topic, we'll be having different lists. They need to be properly combined. Then again, discussions need to be properly made. Consensus list need to be generated. Again, sub-teams for mini specifications. If we have some mini specifications and if we are dealing with the big project, then again, there can be sub-teams which can be involved for that. Then presentations of mini specifications, validation criteria, we need to check it. Then again, a sub-team of draft specifications. So these are the different, different type of activities that need to be followed for this FAST session. Next comes the quality function deployment, QFD. What is this? It incorporates the voice of the customer. It incorporates the voice of the customer and this can lead to the type of technical requirements. These technical requirements further need to be documented, right? So what is actually the prime concern? The prime concern is simply the satisfaction of the customer. Because sometimes it has been said that whatever software you people are developing or the software developer is developing, the customer is not at all satisfied with the, the end product which they are getting. So the prime concern is the satisfaction of the customer, which is the most important for the customer. Until and unless the customer is satisfied, even the developer will not be feeling happy that my customer is not satisfied with the end product that we are going to deliver. Again, based on that, there can be some type of normal requirements, some expected requirements and some exciting requirements. Normal requirements are very general type of requirements. Expected, what your customer is expecting out of the system. Exciting, even those very requirements which the customer is not actually expecting out of the system. But if the developer is going to provide it, definitely they'll be very, very happy because these are some type of exciting requirements. even if they have not actually, are aware of the type of things, or they are actually not incorporated those very type of requirements, but those very requirements which are beyond their type of expectations. So definitely they'll be quite satisfied. Then again, there are different type of steps that need to be followed. First is we need to identify the stakeholders. The stakeholders need to be properly identified. Once they are identified, then list out the proper requirements. Okay, what are the different type of requirements? And third is the degree of importance to each particular requirements. How important a particular requirement is. Now, based on that how important a particular type of requirements is, a type of basic scaling has been done. As you can see, which scales from 1 to 5. Like if there is 1 point, we can say that it is a type of unrealistic required, or further exploration can be needed. 2 points, that means not important, it's not very, very important. 3 points, not important, but if we have, it's nice to have it, right? So that means it is a type of scaling which is basically done. Then fourth is, it is quite important. If I talk about 0.5, it is very, very important, right? So it is a type of scaling, or it is a type of like how important a particular type of requirement is. Based on that, a proper type of categorization has been done. Then again, requirement engineer may categorize like that it is possible to achieve, or it should be deferred, and why it is deferred. It is impossible and should be dropped from consideration. So first category requirements will be implemented as per priority, which is assigned with every requirement. That means with each and every type of requirement, a proper type of priority basis has been allocated, and based on that categorization, we are going to incorporate with the requirement of the particular system. The use case approach, then Eva Jacobson and others basically introduced the use case approach for the elicitation and modeling. Again, it is one of the approach with the help of which we just try to fetch or gather the requirements because they are the requirements, or these are the approach which basically falls under the elicitation type of thing. Then use case, which basically gives the functional view of the system. Again, there are different terms which basically falls under this very category of use case: the use case scenario, and use case diagram. So they generally seems to be often interchanged, but again, they are quite different. Use case scenario, and use case diagram are different. They're not the same thing. So what is use case? Use case are structured outline or template for the description of user requirements, what user is expecting, which is modeled in the proper structured language like English. Use case diagrams are graphical representations that may be decomposed into further level of abstraction. What level of abstractions do we actually need? So they are basically the graphical representation that can be decomposed. Use case diagram. We have different actors, and again we have different symbols with the help of which we can represent like actors, the use case, what is the association, how the actor is associated with the use case. Thank you so much.